Hi, I'm Quatsi,
And I'm Lucretia.
and we are your woke and wealthy coaches.
Welcome, Wealthy Coach. What is that? Can you explain it?
I'm glad you asked. Your woke and wealthy coach is here to help you understand the value chain between work and wealth. We're also here to help you move from a place where you're spending your days working for money to a life where your money is working for you.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like the concept of having your money working for you. I think that's something that we need to grasp as a community, as a people. I think working is one stream. I think is what you're trying to communicate here. One stream for income, but there's some hidden streams or other streams that are out there that people may not have even tapped into. And
Right.
it's important to have conversations around what those streams are too as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
And on the topic of money, as we talk about this podcast, this channel, are we just focusing on money or will we talk about other things? Can you elaborate on some of the other things we might talk about?
Absolutely. The woke and wealthy coach isn't just about you and money. It's about you, your place in America, your place in your community, your place in this political system that we live in, and how it pertains to your ability to achieve and maintain wealth.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack in what you just said, given what we've just experienced over the last few years, right? Over the last many years. When you talk about America and politics and community and culture, there's certainly an energy or an awakening that has happened to many of us. And I think it's really a good thing that the Woke and Wealthy Coach will be hitting on a lot of these topics or main areas.
Yeah, because Black America, as we all know and many of us acknowledge, is a largely depressed population. That has not been able to consistently capture, create, and sustain wealth streams that are essential for financial freedom and generational wealth creation, as has been experienced by individuals and families of other ethnicities in the United States of America. And so we're here to provide information that will help people of color break through the barriers of racial inequality and discrimination as it pertains to financial freedom.
I think, yeah, you just said some very powerful things, and there's a lot in what you said. Particularly, one of the things I want to point on is when you say that Black America as a whole, right? When we look at ourselves as a whole, the outcomes as compared to other ethnicities just don't seem to line up when we compare success, right? When you look at other ethnicities and what they've been able to achieve. But there are a lot of reasons why, I think we have done a lot of things. There are a lot of areas where we could improve as a people. But there are also a lot of things that we just didn't know, we didn't understand. And I want to use the terminology American descendants of slaves.
Yes.
Because I think there's a lot in that. Because when you are not educated and you start out when others have already gotten a 400-year head start, you're excited to be in the game
Hmm.
until you realize others have been in the game for 400 years.
Right.
Here we are.
Right. And really, ultimately, that's where a lot of my passion comes in, around this message and around the purpose of the Woke and Wealthy Coach, is really getting to the truth through a very balanced message. Those of us who are people of color who have come from families that, we didn't necessarily have a lot of money growing up. One of the things that we were either explicitly told or led to believe or allowed to believe is that, we were simply inferior. We weren't smart enough to have or make money. We didn't have the skills to have or make money. Y- you know, when we went to look for jobs when we were working age, 16, 17 years old, looking for our after school jobs, we come from a culture where we think we're doing good by being able to get a job at McDonald's. And there's nothing wrong with that. McDonald's, praise God. I love McDonald's. And, any honest wage is a good wage. But that there is another level. And it's largely because, we haven't been taught. We've grown up in an environment where, as a culture, as an American black people, we are a civilization, we're a culture that has risen from the ashes or is still trying to rise from the ashes of slavery. And it is not an apples to apples comparison to compare, you know, black Americans with white Americans, with Chinese Americans, with Japanese Americans. Every ethnicity has its own unique story. And for us, we're particularly focused on the story around black American descendants of slaves and how we can, focus and move forward. And so, having said that, I certainly realize that even though our presence, our knowledge and our experience and our goodwill, although it's intended for everybody, our message won't necessarily resonate with everybody.
Right.
And having said that, just to reiterate, we're specifically sent to our messages, intended for, first and foremost, black people who want to break through the barriers of racial inequality and discrimination as it pertains to achieving financial prosperity. Our message is for black people who want to advance their careers, beyond just the ground level, just may not have had the knowledge or strategy or sponsorship, to get to those next
really
levels.
Important. When you're able to stand on the shoulders of someone else, or even you don't have to start in square one. You were given some information that may help you move more quickly, on the game board, right? And if you have to start at square one every time, there you lose some efficiency. And so having that sponsorship and that level of support is really, really important. And then being connected to people who are knowledgeable as well.
Exactly. And so, as we work together to advance the cause of uplifting, an oppressed and suppressed Black America, I know you and I talk about this a lot, and we share this passion. We don't ever want to, out of a sense of bitterness, reject the attention, the efforts, the hearts, or goodwill of our brothers and sisters of other ethnicities, who want to join our cause because they are woke enough to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny and that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. Thus saith the King. Amen.
You're so silly. But no, I think that's a great point because this is about humanity. It's about uplifting humanity. It's about moving that needle forward towards justice, towards fairness. In this message, it's not saying that, everybody will love the message. Everyone will get on board. But I think we bring a level of inclusive thought, inclusive speech to be able to work and communicate and collaborate with anybody who's interested in helping this cause.
Exactly.
I do believe that we have some very serious challenges in the Black community, and my hope and desire is that if we can just change one family at a time, we can just help families see the path to success or see where they can be better. Something you said earlier about, we were trained to believe that, you grow up and you get a job, you get a good job. We weren't really taught the other avenue of you grow up to be a boss.
Right.
You grow up to own it so that you can employ and you create opportunities for people who are in your community or people who you are not afraid to work with. Whereas someone in another industry or sitting at the table of a boardroom that may not look like you, they may be afraid to extend that hand to someone that doesn't look like them.
Right. Right. And I'll tell you, a lot of us have heard that message, but I'll tell you when it was really driven home for me. And you may recall this. I won't call his name out because that's not necessarily important. But do you remember my friend from business school who invited us to a party at his house? You know the one. This guy, he's so awesome. He was one of my colleagues from business school. He and I were working on our MBA together, and he was a first generation American. Came over here legally from overseas, and he was a business owner. He was in business school because he wanted to learn more skills to play bigger games and win bigger. But he already had his own business, and he had a nationally known brand of clothing, essentially. And so he invited a lot of us, as you recall, not everybody, but a lot of us to his house to celebrate his wife's birthday. And I remember going to his house. You and I talked about this. There were things that spoke to me going to his house. I mean, this guy was, by a lot of conventional standards, this guy was rich. But he lived in a way that when you look at his house, you saw that it was filled with nice things, but not excessively so. He didn't spend all of his money proving to himself or to anybody else that he was rich. You could tell he was rich if you knew anything about it, because you knew that this piece of furniture over here wasn't cheap, and this piece of artwork over here wasn't cheap. But he wasn't living in a mansion that didn't have any furniture in it because he spent all the money on the house, as some of us had done.
Yeah, I don't think his house wasn't that much bigger than ours. We lived in a very nice neighborhood, in a very nice home. For where he was financially, I was impressed with the way they lived. Not because it was extravagant, but I understood if you're going to be in the game a long time, there's a different way you approach a sprint and a marathon.
That's right.
And I really understood just by listening and talking to them that financial wealth building for them was being treated as though we're a marathon versus a sprint. And many of us in our culture, we live as though every day is a sprint, and it's not.
And here's
the tragedy.
You're absolutely right. And here was the thing that just completely flipped the switch in my brain was, remember when his brother came and he introduced us to his brother. And of course I'd never seen his brother. I wouldn't have known him if I walked up to him on the street, but as his wife was telling us about his brother, he also was a business owner. So here it is. We've got two first generation immigrants, American immigrants. They came from overseas legally, I might add. This isn't a discussion about immigration policy, but we're going to get to that. But they came over legally, and with the resources they had, and they did not come from money over in the country where they're from. They weren't poor, but they didn't come from money, if you recall. And they came over and they both started businesses. They had multiple businesses. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. The story of this guy isn't that he came over, he's got a good job. He came over and he started a business. And that's when sort of the switch in my brain flipped that, you know what? We have to aspire to a different level.
So one of of the things I was,
Right.
I think something you said was so powerful. And when there are a lot of comparisons, I think when you were talking, you weren't jealous of them or anything
Nah.
like that. But a lot of people who've come over, they do compare themselves and they look at Black Americans and say, oh my God, you guys are wasting opportunity. Not really fully, and I think that's a discussion that really needs to be had, right? Not really fully understanding the challenges and the barriers that racism have been, blocking, how that has been blocking people over the years. Part of it is psychological. Part of it is true blockage from opportunity. I mean, it is what it is. It's systemic racism out there. There are various forms of racism. There are various forms of withholding opportunities or not
Right.
extending opportunities to Black people.
Right.
Let's be really real about it.
Absolutely.
And when people of other ethnicities come over, they may experience to some degree, at a lesser level, that type of
Right.
experience. They don't understand the degree to which generation after generation after generation after generation of ADOS, African descendant of slaves, have experienced it. And if you experience negativity, if you hit the wall, what is the piranha effect?
Yeah, it's conditioning. It's conditioning, and it's not accidental conditioning. I won't even go into the Willie Lynch letter today, although we're going to go into it. Not today.
Yeah, there's
but
speculation as to whether or not it is really a truth, but I think it's still something worth reading and something worth talking about in terms of the mindset. Somebody had that mindset.
I think the Willie Lynch letters, personally, I think they're so brilliant and insidious and evil that they can't be fiction. I think
Well,
it's got to
you're
be
right,
real. There's some things that can only be the product
But
of
you know,
of a very real devil. Yeah.
But when you look at, and a lot of people, and I hope that there are people of other nationalities that may be watching this channel and they may be saying, I really am interested in understanding those perspectives, because you may be sitting in your chair and you may say to yourself, hey, I'm an Asian person. My family came over and we started with nothing. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of people have come over, and although you started with nothing, something Watsi said earlier about sponsorship
Right.
and support. You received sponsorship and support in many cases from other Asians in the community who already had amassed or achieved a level of wealth. And that is something we have to do better now that there are those of us who have amassed a level of status. Wealthy is a term.
It's a relative term.
Right. And you can't put a dollar value on wealthy, but wealthy means that I'm not in debt.
Right. It
Right?
means that I've got more than enough of what I need to do whatever it is
More
that
than
I
enough.
want or need to do. That's fundamentally what it is.
Right.
Whatever it is I want or need to do, either by desire, by purpose, or, by God-given mandate or mission,
Right.
I have more than enough
Yes.
to do that and to save and to, help other people. And to invest in the future. And even after doing all of that, I still got some left over. That's wealth. And for some people, that number may mean, having $100,000 in the bank, against a $50,000 a year job. For some people, that might mean having, 500 million, in cash or other or other current assets. In a variety of accounts, on top of a $24 billion business. It depends.
relative.
It's all relative.
But I think the thing that when you look at people on all levels that may be considered wealthy, that may have more, you have more coming in than you have going out, right? You don't have need of everything that is coming in or everything you have sitting in your storehouse. The mindset is something that you can look among most of those people and say there's a wealth mindset. There's a consciousness that exists among those people to where rather than buying the Nikes every time a new Nike comes out, maybe I buy the stock.
Right.
Maybe I look at the cycle, Jordans are coming out in January. Hey, by September, we need to make sure that we get in. We're going to get in one of the low levels of Nike stock so that we can maximize when the stock accretes. And so it's that level of mindset. And, instead of being a consumer, I'm a owner.
Right, exactly. And you know what? Since that sermon sounds real good, I'm going to go ahead and preach some more of that. Our son's grandmother, our mother, it was time, and it was a reasonable time for our son to get a new iPhone. But Grandma didn't give him money for a new iPhone. Grandma bought him some Apple stock.
Yeah.
And see, that's what I'm talking. That's a shift. And again, there's nothing wrong with having an iPhone. Hey, I love, me. I'm an electronics junkie.
You bought the iPhone.
Hey, you know what? Guilty as charged. I bought the kid an iPhone, but after after we had him some Apple stock, right? And so and other people have said that too, and that's and we're at the point where we're starting to really think more heavily and live more heavily in the future in terms of thinking about investing and really what we're about and the reason we're here, right? We're not saying to ourselves or even saying to our viewers, hey, look at us, we've made it, you should be like us, because I think there's a certain hubris or arrogance in that's not representative of our heart. But our heart is, and our passion is, that we have both come from families and come from environments where we are African American descendants of slaves, and
Very
God
proudly, by the way.
very proudly, and God has favored us that we have learned, we have had help, and we have worked our butts off, and achieved a level where we really are at a point of financial freedom. We're not where we ultimately want to be. We've got plenty more runway ahead of us, but we've gotten to a point where we've sort of broken through the barrier of where now we've got about as much money working for us as we are generating on a W-2 job. And our passion is to just take whatever it is that we know, whatever we've learned, and add that to the body of knowledge that's out there, that's being disseminated through these social media platforms to help other people. And there's a part of our message that will really help a certain segment of the viewership. There's a part of our message that that may not necessarily resonate with them. But our heart is we just want to be a blessing. As God has blessed us, we just want to be a blessing to other people.
Yeah. And there are various tools. There are some great groups out here, great YouTubers that are out here, some in which we follow.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll be bringing that information to the platform too as well. But if you want to grow, you want to be better tomorrow than you are today. And you might be saying to yourself, I just don't know where to start. This is a good channel for you. Yeah,
we're here for you, because even with some of the awesome content that's out there, they many of them are rightfully so and justifiably so operating in an area that's still maybe a couple of steps above that foundation, but we're really sent to that person who maybe watching us on their iPhone or on their Android, watching us on their their Roku TV or Fire Stick, and saying, what, I feel you, but where do I begin? I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I can't do it. Well, first of all, our message to you is you can do it. And we'll talk. You will do it, and we'll help you, because we were there. We were those people. We were that couple.
For no shortage of
we were that couple
of money. It was just we were early on. We just didn't do the right things with money, and part of it was we didn't understand how it would impact us. Now we know.
One of the ministers that has been a blessing to us over the years said many times in a lot of his sermons. And it's very easy not to believe this, but it's true. He said, your problem is not money.
He did.
He said, you have to change your thinking first. Even if all you are making is $6.50 an hour, the reason you're not rich is not because you're making $6.50 an hour. You are poor in your thinking. That's not an indictment. That's not a criticism. You're poor in your thinking. Your problem isn't money. And so we're here to help you with areas of knowledge and with your thinking. And so that's what this channel is about, and I'm certainly excited.
So if you like what you've heard tonight, we invite you to join us every week. We're going to drop content at least every week. We're going to deep dive into matters of money, political engagement, social awareness, all the stuff that we're itching to talk about. And we want you to join us.
Absolutely, absolutely. We thought a long time about what to call our channel. How to present ourselves, who we want to be to our viewership. And after giving a lot of thought and prayer, we believe that we are equipped and we are qualified to be coaches. And you may ask, well, who needs a coach? First off, I need a coach.
I need one.
and you need a coach. Whether you realize it or not, you need a coach. Anyone who wants to expand beyond their current state and are willing to admit that they need help, they need a coach. One of our most famous African American athletes was quoted as saying that the very, very best basketball players in the world aren't even in the NBA. They're in the hood, on the neighborhood basketball courts and playgrounds, but those are the ones that won't receive coaching. So the very first thing you can do, the very first step you can take to moving from where you are now to a place of being wealthy, whatever wealthy will mean to you in your life, is to first acknowledge you need coaching and to receive coaching. And so we are excited about going on this journey with you. We are excited and passionate about being a blessing in some small way to those who are trying to come up through honest means. And we're just going to be really looking forward to speaking with you every week. And so with that, God bless you and stay tuned. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And also, after you subscribe to the channel, please hit the notification bell at the upper right-hand corner of the window so that you can be notified as soon as new content is released on the channel. Until next time, welcome to the team, players. Let's get ready to win. Peace.